We're here with Hughes, frontman and songwriter from the band 10. This is a podcast, actually. We make it for the internet, so hello, internet.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
And, we're going to shoot some questions to him.
That's fine. Fire away.
And we're going to start, with a look back to the early days. You started in the early 90s. I don't know exactly the year.
Yeah, in the early 90s, 94, 95. I had an album out before then, a solo album, Strength of Heart. And pre-name for that was Big Bad Wolf. But we started working on material for what were to be the first two 10 albums. Around about 94, back into 94, 95, I brought Vinnie Burns and Greg Morgan in to play instrumentation on it, and all of a sudden it became a band almost overnight. So it just felt more like a band, and we were getting on great, the guys in the band. So we decided, instead of being two solo albums, a rockers and a ballads album, there would be the first 10 album, Name of the Rose. So that's how the first two albums began, if you like, and it grew from there.
Yeah, and you ran steady for like some years to just 2001, I think.
Yeah, then Vinny left the band to do his Burns Brew project and one or two other things. And then we brought Chris Francis in, and he was with us for 4 or 5 years, right up to the Twilight Chronicles album. And then we had another hiatus. We had various things going on in our lives at the time, and especially when you've been in a band for a lot of years, some members start to think, well, is this what I want to do anymore? I don't want to do something different. And members went and left, and new members came in. And we were almost 4 years between Twilight Chronicles and Storm Warning. And Storm Warning was an album we had to make because we had to sort of make people see that we were still on the market, still in the marketplace. But even then, some of the members of the band were still session guys on a session basis. And so it was important, because Storm Warning was well received, it was important that we then put a band together we knew we could tour and we could bring things forward with. And that was where the new lineup for Heresy and Creed came from. That's where Heresy and Creed came from. And this band now is, if you like, likable personalities that I've ever worked with. There are no conflicts in this band, no personality issues. And if any band were going to make a lot of albums, it's us now. We've got the right lineup, the right hunger, especially bringing the young guys in as well. Dan Mitchell, Max Yates, they're bringing a new hunger to the band, and they've kind of reinvented it for me as well. They've kind of brought the hunger back for me as well, and John and Steve. So, the old meets the new, and we carry on.
So you get the feeling that this band might carry on and do more albums, and some, because we don't know for sure if it's a steady project. The first album was sort of a comeback album.
Yeah.
And then this one came out the following year. So.
There were two reasons for this. Well, the first reason really was that Frontiers, we were contracted to Frontiers, and our contract states that there can't be more than 3 years between albums. And with Twilight Chronicles, it was already 4 years after the Twilight Chronicles, before Storm Warning. So I was forced to make an album, really, under the 10 name. And really at that stage I had to bring in session guys and session names just to really comply with my contractual obligations. And there were a lot of things about that album that I was pleased that it puts back in the marketplace, but the record company were very they were on our backs all the time to make a particular type of album. And they said, even to the extent of in the contract, they were saying things like, we want 2 After the Love Is Gone, 1 Name of the Rose, we want 2. It was almost like ordering a shopping list. And you can't make an album like that, and it feel natural. So with this new album, I was convinced that we needed to make the album that was right for the evolution of 10. And Heresy and Creed was with the new members of the band. It's very definitely a band, and we've been out since then. We've done a selection of shows in the UK to get the band tight, and then of course we're in Madrid now. We just did Firefest 2 weeks ago. We're in Wales at Hard Rock Hell in 2 weeks' time, and next year we already have a festival in Athens booked, one in Stockholm in Sweden, and one in Magnarok in Rotherham with Ollie John Roth and Tesla, I think it is. So we're trying to put festivals in, and then what we'll do is, when we know the dates of the festivals and they're in concrete, we'll put selections of live dates around those festivals, so that hopefully there's really always opportunity for people to see 10 if they want to see 10. Now, I go back to when I was a boy growing up and listening to music anyway. There were bands like the Scorpions and UFO, who every year they released an album, and you can look forward to an album every 12 months, 12, 14 months. And bands don't do that now, really they make fans wait far too long, and it's my desire to get 10 back to making an album every 14 months, something like that. So there's something new to work on, something always to play live for, and that's the only way, you know, bands start playing in venues like obviously we're in Madrid now, we're at Sala Live, but you know in 2 years' time we want to be playing Riviera or somewhere like that, you know, somewhere with a bigger capacity.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be building, not fading away. So that's the only way we do it, by hard work and more product, you know.
Yeah. So the new album has big expectations, and how it came to be. I mean, the recording process and the songwriting was all in your hands. The band,
well, yeah, because we didn't have we were still bringing new members of the band in then, you know, right up to we started working on the material, and I got the drums down, I got the bass down. Steve came back in the band to do the bass, and he's never been away. Johnny had worked on rhythm guitars with me, and we brought Daryl in, and we were still looking for Dan. We'd auditioned several guitar players, none of which were quite right. And really, the problem with tennis, we've had some really strong guitar players. Vinnie Burns, excellent guitar player. Chris Francis, great guitar player. You know, we needed something new and something that was going to evolve into the future. And then Dan arrived, and it was perfect. And we thought, well, you know, it's taken a while, but we've got the right blend and the right band now. So yeah, it did take time, and it was a selective process, but you know, the material built and built and built, and all of a sudden we had an album. We had an album with everybody's individual flavours on there as well. They each brought something to the board, you know. In particular on the guitars, Dan's played some amazing guitar work on this new album. And for a kid who's, you know, I call him a kid, you know, but in relation to me he is, you know, his first album, you know, that he's ever been on, and there it is, and he's proud of it, we're proud of it, and away we go. So yeah, it's taken a while, but you know, we've got there.
Well, like you.
Yeah.
And numbers are strong when it comes to sales. You're selling well.
Well, yeah, we're doing very well. We've everybody in Japan, in particular in Japan, we've seen a massive rise in the sales. In the 90s, at the back end of the 90s, that was our strongest territory. We were selling, you know, hundreds of thousands of albums over there, lots of albums. In fact, more albums over there than in Europe combined. And then with the recession and everything else, you know, everything falls. Bands, I was talking to Harry Hess from Harem Scarum only a couple of weeks ago about it. They were in a similar situation. They were doing great business over there, and it all kind of collapsed, imploded a little bit. But, you know, as one thing goes, the other raises. So Japan came down and Europe took off a little bit more for us. But we levelled out, and we've always been in a situation where we've almost provided albums for the same crowd. It's almost like we've done the same numbers every time we've made an album, which is healthy from the point of view of we're not fading away, but we're not building. So, but this time on Heresy and Creed, we're seeing an improvement again. We're seeing the album sales going up, and we hope that by getting out and playing live in more countries, that's going to help that as well again, because people can see us and hear the music live.
Okay. And how come you come to Spain, to Madrid? It's the first show you play in some years, right?
Yeah, because it was a funny situation when we were talking about looking at Europe for next year, and I said, well, if we're doing Firefest in the UK in November, why don't we do a European show and just really see, in the same way we did in the UK by putting some shows and put the feelers out to see if anybody will come. Why don't we just do a European show? And when I said to the guys, you know, where we're going to put a show, you know, Johnny and Steve and I from out the past, it's got to be in Spain. We've got to do Spain because we've had some great shows over here, Barcelona, Santander, Bilbao, you know, a few shows in Madrid, you know, the Sala Arena and various places. And we said, yeah, that'd be great. We'll just see how we go. And it's a funny situation, but you know, we look at bands like we did Firefest with Gotthard a couple of weeks ago, and I know they were here not so long ago, and they were doing the Riviera. They were doing the big 2,500 capacity place, and I think with Michael Kisk's new band in support. So it's a big draw, and they're playing big places. And I said to the guys, I said, well, don't worry about, you know, Sala Live is a lovely venue. It's a very close venue. We're going to have a really sweaty, hot, atmospheric show. And I said, you know, that's the thing. You know, let's make sure that we work, and in 2 years, maybe we're playing at the Riviera. Who knows? You know, if you work really hard, that's what happens, you know, if you really do. So don't be surprised to see us quite regularly over here. You know, we're looking to do Germany quite a lot, and Spain and France to see how it builds from there. So.
Yeah, people love coming here. I get that all the time.
Yeah, there's a kind of reaction as well. There's a little bit of a reaction. There's always feedback from the audiences. So there's always that kind of chemistry, you know. We just love it out here. The crazy thing is, and here I am, like on the internet, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not, you know, giving a hard time to English fans. But I always say the problem with England is we hold the American bands too much in high esteem. You know, you go to America and you'll never get an American fan saying that an American band aren't as good as an English band. But in the UK, for some reason, the English fans think that the American bands are great and the English bands are just okay. You know, it's the only country in the world where this happens, you know, and we're not saying we're the best band in the world, but, you know, we're a good band and we're a hard-working band, so the way we look at it is, you know, we're as good as the American bands, you know, and we're quite pleased when we play at festivals such as Firefest, because we get a chance to fly the flag a little bit, but then we get a chance to come out and we think, well, we come out, you know, the Spanish understand us, we understand them, the Germans understand us, you know, to a similar extent, but not quite in a more reserved manner. In Spain it seems to be more wild, and that's fantastic. For the confidence of a band, that is brilliant. So that's, you know, that's really why we're here.
Yeah, that's good because I've been in the UK for some shows. Thunder are known for play
of course,
mainly the UK.
Yeah.
So the
UK and Japan, they do.
Yeah. And well, this is something weird because so many great bands come from the UK.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, Danny Bozo or Luke Morley, whoever you would speak to, they would probably agree that it's very hard to keep yourself going in the UK. It's such a hard, sort of a fickle audience in lots of ways. You know, they like what they like, and if you don't get out there and play, they forget about you very quickly. Now in Europe, I don't think that's the case. I think, you know, people remember, and if they had a good time at a gig, or they, you know, then they're still prepared to think, oh, you know, I'll go and see them, go and see those guys, see what it's like now, you know. And you know, I wish it was the same in the UK in lots of ways. I think it might be a European sort of vibe really, rather than, you know, maybe that little bit of water between Europe and England maybe stops the vibe. You know, we're vibeless, and then, you know, everything else.
it's different from country to country, I think.
Yeah.
Even from city to city. We're actually from Barcelona.
All right, cool,
We've
cool.
come all the way here because of the show.
Fantastic! It's a long drive. Yeah.
No, it's for the plane.
Oh well, that's good. I was going to say,
Yeah.
it must be 6 hours in a car or something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, more or less. And well,
I've done it in a nightliner, so I know that. I know that
Yeah.
6 hours. Nightliners take forever. Overnight, thank God.
It's 8 hours in the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank God you're asleep.
I went. And well, it's not the first time we meet. We met earlier in I think it was 2001 or 2000.
Right. Forgive me for.
No, it's okay. I met for like.
You probably changed, but then again, so have I.
I have long hair, so I've changed quite a lot.
That's fine.
You too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And well, the last question is we actually met in a particular show in North Catalonia, north of Barcelona. I don't know if you remember, in Lleida. Lleida.
Was it an ice rink?
No.
No, there you
I
go.
don't think so,
Strange
no.
question, I know, but there you go.
No, it was with 2 other bands, one from Madrid. I don't remember quite the name.
Were they called Next or?
Next, I think, yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
And was it with Millennium?
Exactly.
Millennium. There you
Exactly
go.
right.
Yeah, with Jorn.
Jorn.
Lander.
Yeah, at that point,
fantastic.
we didn't know about him. You know, it was
unknown. Yeah, it's crazy.
It was like we were talking about the weird Klingon-like man in the back.
Yeah.
They were in the back watching the show, and then they got to the stage and he starts to sing. It was like,
yeah, unbelievable voice. It was almost like they had a Viking hiding in the back in a cage somewhere, and they let him out every night for a quick sing and then put him back in. No, but yeah, it's a great guy and a really nice guy as well. If you meet him, he's very straightforward. What you see is what you get with the Lander. So it's a really good guy.
It was a great experience for you.
It was great because we were on tour. I mean, at the time we had Don Airy on keyboards, did we not? Yeah, we did.
I met Don Airy.
Yeah, that's right.
We went actually. I don't know if you remember, but we went to the room. You guys were there with Vinnie Burns and everybody.
Yeah.
We went up and we designed CDs for us. So we did the fan thing, and you know.
Yeah,
so it was like, you know, I wanted to.
That was a great time. It was a good band. Millennium were really good. I I used to speak quite a lot to Ralph Santoro because he used to record in the UK quite a lot. But I've not seen him for ages now. But and I've kind of lost touch with Jorn. But you know, I always speak fondly of him because he's, as I say, he's a nice guy. And Don Airy, of course, I see him occasionally, but not as much as I would like because he's very busy now with Purple and various things. But
he was very quiet. I remember,
good memories
on the corner.
Yeah. Such quiet for such a legend. Yeah, very quiet. Yeah,
exactly. So well, we don't have much time now, and we thank Gary. And
you're very welcome. And
we hope the show will be great.
Yeah, get out and see us live. If you see the dates out there, get out and see us live.
You want to say something to the Spanish fans and the
just thanks very much for the support, continued support. We love coming out here and playing, and I know that this time we were supposed to film this for a live DVD, and it was decided by the promoters and ourselves that because it was a slightly smaller venue for us, that we would leave it maybe till next time to record a live DVD. But I'm convinced that it will be in Spain when we do record the live DVD. So when that finally happens, first live DVD in 15 years, I'm quite sure it'll be somewhere in Spain. So thank you very much for the support, and we'll see you soon.
I hope so. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
no problem.
Thank you.